Before we descend into the chilling secrets of the Whispering Vault, have you ever visited a museum that felt too quiet? Let me know in the comments. And if you love exploring forgotten places and haunted crypts, don't forget to like and subscribe. Let's dive into the darkness together. I never meant to stay that late if I'd been smarter, or maybe just less desperate. I would have taken the supervisor's half-joking warning a little more seriously. Don't linger too long downstairs. They get lonely. He'd laughed when he said it, handing me the jangling set of janitor's keys. And I'd laugh too, because that's what you do when someone says something you don't want to think about, especially when rent's due next week and your options are thin. The University Museum wasn't glamorous, not even in daylight. By night, it became something worse, a hollow, breathing thing, half forgotten even by the students who paid to keep it open. Every corridor, every staircase down into the lower levels felt like sinking. My first assignment was simple: mop the marble floors upstairs, dust the glass cases, wipe down the polished brass railings. Then, downstairs, the Crypt exhibit. They called it that, but it wasn't just a name. The university's founders, back in the 18th century, had actually built a crypt beneath the campus chapel, an authentic resting place for benefactors and men of learning, according to the plaque at the top of the staircase. When enrollment shrank and money dried up, they converted it into a tourist trap. Skulls in cases, old robes on mannequins, fake spider webs in October. Still, somehow, it never stopped feeling like a grave. The first night I went down, bucket and mop squeaking behind me, I told myself I'd be fast. The stone steps were narrow, uneven underfoot, walls pressed close on both sides. Cold, damp, sweat slick even in winter. The bottom. Weak yellow lights flickered above rows of iron-barred alcoves. Inside each alcove, a coffin. Real ones, mostly empty. I kept my head down, focused on the task. Mop the floors. Dust the plaques. Don't think about what lay behind those bars. For a while, it worked. Long enough that I almost missed it. A sound at the edge of hearing, like a draft shifting loose papers or breathing. I froze, mop halfway across the stone tiles. Listened. Nothing. Just the dripping of condensation off ancient stone. First rule of late shifts. When you think you hear something, you didn't. I went back to work. I finished the floors, locked up, and swore I'd imagined it. The next night, though, the sound was clearer, not breathing. I couldn't catch the words at first. Maybe I didn't want to, but I heard my name. The sound came from the farthest alcove, a black iron gate set into the wall, rusted shut decades ago. Behind it, only darkness and something colder than the air around it. I told myself it was just my imagination. Overworked, overstressed, classic symptoms. Nothing a good night's sleep wouldn't fix. Still, I finished faster that night. Ran up the stairs 2 at a time, keys jangling in my fist. The third night, it found me. It started the same: footsteps, breath, whispers. But when I turned to leave, I saw it, a small, ancient key ring sitting neatly on the information desk where I'd left my bucket. Not museum-issued keys. These were different, thick. Tarnished brass with ornate carvings worn nearly smooth by centuries of use. 0.5 keys, 0.1 bigger than the others, shaped like a tree twisting around itself. There was no logical explanation. The museum inventory was tight, paranoid even. Nothing went unrecorded, certainly not something like this. I should have turned it in. Instead, I picked it up, cold as ice in my hand, heavier than it looked. And when I closed my fist around it, I heard the whisper again, louder, clearer, like a voice pressed against the back of my neck. Deeper. I didn't tell anyone. Not because I thought they'd mock me, though they probably would not know. I didn't tell anyone because a part of me, a small, traitorous part, wanted to know what the keys opened. On the fourth night, I found out. The biggest key fit a lock I'd never noticed before. At the end of the crypt, just past the barred alcoves, was a featureless slab of wall I'd always assumed was part of the foundation. But looking closer, there was a door, stone, nearly seamless, but marked faintly with a symbol, a tree spiraling inward on itself, just like the largest K, EY.my hands trembled as I fit the key into the rusted lock. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, a click. A shudder through the stone floor. The door swung inward with a groan like a dying animal. Beyond it, blackness, stairs spiraling down into the earth. A current of air flowed up from the opening, carrying the smell of old dust and something sweeter, rotting. Every rational cell in my brain screamed to stop. Lock it. Walk away. Forget it. But my feet moved without permission. One step, then another, then another. The door swung closed behind me. The door thudded shut behind me with a finality that made my heart stutter. I spun back, fumbling in the dark, but there was no latch, no handle, just smooth, cold stone where the door had been. Above me, the museum lights were already distant. Below me, deeper darkness. The only way was down. The staircase was ancient, older than anything I'd seen on campus. The steps were narrow, uneven, carved directly from the bedrock. Each footfall sent echoes racing downward like signals to whatever lay beneath. The air grew colder with every step. Not the damp chill of a basement, something sharper, biting, as if the earth itself hated being disturbed. I tried to tell myself I could still turn back, pound on the door, scream if I had to, but the whispers were waiting at the bottom, clearer now, not just my name, words. Closer, keeper, archivist. The stairs ended in a narrow tunnel, ceiling low enough that I had to hunch. The walls here weren't masonry, just raw stone, gouged and blackened, as if by fire. I moved forward, one hand trailing the wall for balance. The key ring clinked softly with each step, the cold brass burning against my skin. After maybe 50 paces, the tunnel widened into a chamber. I stepped inside and stopped breathing. It was a vault. A real one, far older than anything the museum cataloged. The room was circular, maybe 30 feet across, with a domed ceiling lost in shadows. In the center, a dais, carved from dark stone. Upon it, a massive, leather-bound book chained to a pedestal. The book was open, its pages blank. No dust on it.no decay.as if someone had just stepped away a moment ago. I approached it slowly, each step a drumbeat in my ears. The closer I got, the louder the whispers became. Write, bind, remember. Around the walls, more alcoves, not the neat coffin niches of the museum above, rough-hewn slots in the stone, just large enough to hold something. And in each, shapes, shriveled forms, wrapped in brittle cloth, mouths frozen mid-scream. I stumbled back, while rising in my throat. These weren't displays, they were remnants, offerings, failures. Then movement. From the deepest alcove, something shifted. A sound like dry leaves stirring. I strained to see, but the shadows seemed to writhe, thickening, coalescing. Something was standing up. It stepped into the half-light, and I stopped being sure of what my eyes were telling me. It had the vague shape of a man, tall, thin, but its proportions were wrong. Too long, too narrow. Its face was hidden behind a hood stitched from layers of decaying parchment. Ink ran down its arms like veins. Its fingers, impossibly long, were tipped with what looked like quills instead of nails. It raised one hand, beckoning. not menacingly, almost pleading. "Archivist," it rasped. The voice wasn't from its mouth. It came from inside my head. 1,000 broken voices speaking at once. "Record. Remember. Continue." I staggered back toward the tunnel, but the stone under my feet shifted, became soft, yielding. I looked down. Hands. Scores of them, gray and skeletal, reaching from the ground, clutching at my ankles. I kicked free, hard hammering. Stumbling back toward the dais, the entity didn't follow. It simply pointed, first at the book, then at me. "The Ledger of the Lost," it whispered. "You have opened the vault. You are now its keeper." I shook my head, backing away, desperate. No, I didn't. You chose." The book's blank pages began to writhe. Names appeared in blood-red ink, spiraling outward. Unfamiliar names, ancient ones, each ending with a slash through it, as if crossed out. Near the bottom of the latest page, space for one more .my name, waiting to be written. I turned and ran, back into the tunnel, slamming into walls, scraping my hands raw on the stone. The whispers followed, rising to a shriek. "Archivist! Archivist! Archivist!" The stairs appeared ahead. I took them 3 at a time, lungs burning. When I reached the door, it was gone. The stone wall stretched unbroken. No seam. No handle. No escape. I pounded my fists against the stone, screaming. Nothing. Only darkness behind me, and the slow, deliberate sound of footsteps climbing the stairs. Closer, closer. In desperation, I pulled the keys from my pocket, fumbled them into the stone, searching for a lock that wasn't there. The biggest key slipped from my hand, skittering across the floor. When it stopped, it pointed, not toward the wall, but downward, toward the stairs. The footsteps stopped, silenced out a pause like a held breath. Then a whisper, soft as a blade slipping between ribs. "Your turn." A cold hand closed around my shoulder. I screamed, twisting away, but when I turned, there was no one there. Only the key ring, lying at my feet, and the open ledger, now resting neatly on the top step. I don't know how long I stood there, staring at the book. Long enough for the cold to seep deep into my bones. Long enough for the whispers to grow soft again, as if patient, waiting. The Ledger of the Lost lay open on the stone, its blank space glowing faintly. A wound in the paper. I could hear my heartbeat pounding in my ears. Or maybe it wasn't my heart. Maybe it was the vault itself, breathing around me. I backed away slowly, one step at a time, until my heels struck the first stair downward, the only direction left, down. I don't know why I picked up the keys again. Maybe it was instinct, clinging to the last thing that seemed real. Their weight grounded me, somehow. Or maybe I simply knew I'd need them. The stairwell spiraled deeper than it should have. I counted the steps at first, 20, 30, 50, but soon lost track. The walls seemed to close in, squeezing the breath from my chest, and all the while, the voices whispered from the stone. "Archivist, recorder, caretaker." At the bottom, another door, massive, black iron, covered in carvings so old the symbols were nearly eroded into nothingness. The 5 keys in my hand buzzed against my skin. One of them, a slender, twisted thing shaped like a serpent, pulsed with a faint, sickly light. I fitted it into the lock, turned it. The door screamed open. Beyond it, a vast hall, not made by human hands. The ceiling soared out of sight, lost in darkness. Columns, crooked and decaying, stretched in uneven rows toward infinity. The air smelled of dust and ink and rotted paper, and everywhere, books, piled in heaps, stacked in broken shelves, scattered like fallen leaves across the black stone floor. Each book hummed with a soft, malignant energy. Each book, I realized, was a soul, bound, cataloged, stored. Movement caught my eye. Across the hall, shapes stirred among the ruins. Figures, dozens, maybe hundreds, shuffling through the stacks. Hollow-eyed, mouths sewn shut with crimson thread. Former archivists. I stumbled backward, heart slamming against my ribs. The nearest one turned to me. Where its eyes should have been, there were only dark, ink-dripping sockets. It raised a hand, a skeletal, quivering thing, and pointed at me. Right? The whisper came, more forceful now. Bind. Remember. I ran. Books toppled in my wake. Parchment burst into clouds of choking dust. The figures gave chase, silent, relentless, their stitched mouths twisting in agonized grins. I spotted another door ahead, small, metal, partially ajar, and oh, time to think. I threw myself through it, slamming it shut behind me. The echo of the impact rolled through the vault like thunder. I turned and realized I'd stepped into the heart of it. An altar atop it, a massive tome, far larger than the others. Its cover was made of stitched skin, human, if the curling, faintly tattooed patterns were any hint. Chains wrapped around it, binding it tight. Beneath it, carved into the stone floor, the sigil of the twisted tree, the same as on the key, the same as on the hidden door, roots spiraling inward, devouring themselves. The chains rattled, the book pulsed, as if alive, and then it spoke, not aloud, inside my skull, vibrating through my teeth, filling my vision with flashes of ancient, broken places. Name yourself, it demanded. Bind your soul to the ledger, or remain nameless and be devoured. I dropped the keys, fell to my knees. My mind reeled, breaking against the command like a ship on black rocks. Somewhere inside me, a small voice, my voice, screamed to resist, but the vault was stronger. The vault was eternal. Tears blurred my vision. I clutched at the chains, trying to pry them loose, trying to destroy the thing, end it, end myself if necessary. But the chains burned my hands, etching black runes into my flesh. I screamed. The stitchbook laughed, a dry, paper-tearing sound that filled the chamber. Above me, the air shuddered. A figure began to descend from the darkness. The true archivist. It was larger now, immense, impossible. Its parchment robes stretched outward like wings, each stitched scrap inscribed with names, endless names, where its face should have been. Only a mirrored surface, cracked and leaking black ink, and in its hands, a quill made from bone and sorrow. It floated down until it stood before me, tilted its shattered head, waited. I knew what it wanted, knew there was no bargaining, only one choice left. With trembling hands, I picked up the bone quill. It pierced my palm the moment I touched it, drinking deep. The blood soaked into the parchment altar. My name, without any conscious will, spilled from my lips. Caleb Monroe. The ledger snapped open, blank pages filled with fire and screaming. The archivist dipped the quill into my blood, began to write. Each letter seared itself into the pages, into my bones, into the stone of the world itself. Caleb Monroe, bound, kept, recorded. When it finished, the archivist stepped aside. The altar cracked open, chains unraveled, and from within the tome, 1,000 black tendrils erupted, lashing outward, wrapping around me, dragging me inward. I tried to scream, but the sound was sucked from my lungs. The last thing I saw before the blackness claimed me was the vault closing around itself, resetting, waiting for the next. And in that final moment, I understood. There was never an escape. There was only the ledger. There was only the record. There was only the whispering vault. Now, when the museum lights flicker at night, when the students whisper about strange sounds rising from the crypt, they are not wrong. They hear me. The new archivist. Time has no meaning here. There is only the endless dark, the cold stone, the weight of the books pressing against my mind. Sometimes I remember fragments, the sun on my face outside the museum, the smell of coffee drifting from the campus cafe, the sound of students laughing. Memories not mine alone anymore. Each flicker of my past cataloged, dissected, filed away by unseen hands. I am not Caleb Monroe. I am the ledger. Still, some stubborn, rotted piece of me fights. It rises in stolen moments when the vault slumbers, when the archivist's attention wanes. In those moments, I wander the endless halls, searching for cracks in the walls, for forgotten doorways. But the vault is patient. The vault is alive. It rearranges itself around me, a labyrinth without mercy. Others have come. I have watched them. Fresh faces, wide-eyed with wonder or skepticism. Students, researchers, curators. They drift through the museum above, unaware that the very air quivers with suppressed screams. But the vault calls to them. It plants seeds. A misplaced key on a janitor's cart. A door ajar that should not exist. A whisper in a language they almost understand. It needs more souls. The ledger is never full. One night, maybe last year, maybe a century ago, a girl came. She wore a red jacket and sneakers dusted with mud. She found the ledger room by accident or by design. I watched her through the fractures in the stone, screaming silently, willing her to run. But she heard the whispers, saw the glow of ancient pages. Curiosity will always be humanity's final sin. She opened the book. I felt it happen, a tearing, a shudder through the vault's endless body. The chains rattled loose. The archivist stirred. The cycle began anew. They bound her quickly, more quickly than me. She fought hard, harder than I did, but it didn't matter. When the vault chooses you, resistance is only another flavor of failure. Now I see her sometimes, walking among the columns, her red jacket faded to gray, her eyes stitched shut with silver thread. A new librarian. Another voice to swell the chorus of the lost. I wonder if she blames me. I wonder if she even remembers herself. There are worse things, I suppose, than being forgotten. Worse things than silence. Because sometimes, when the vault is quietest, when even the archivist retreats into its rotted throne, the first keeper stirs. I do not know what it is, only that it is older than the vault, older than the books, older than memory itself. I have glimpsed it in dreams, a vast, eyeless thing, draped in veils of ash, hands dripping with unwritten ink. It does not whisper. It roars, a low, endless vibration that shakes the marrow in my bones. It remembers the time before the vault was built, before the bindings were made, before humanity tried to tame the storm. And it hates us. I think, no, I know, that the vault was not made to imprison knowledge. It was made to imprison it. But cracks are forming. The bindings fray. The names fade. One day soon, maybe tomorrow, maybe 1,000 years from now, the first keeper will rise. When it does, it will tear free every soul bound in the ledger. It will unwrite every word. It will erase every memory. There will be no history. No names. No us. Just the endless dark, breathing. If you ever visit the museum, if you ever hear your name whispered from the depths, if you ever find a key in your pocket you don't remember picking up, run. Do not look back. Do not answer. And above all, do not open the door. The vault is patient. The vault is waiting. The vault remembers. If the whispering vault made your skin crawl, imagine what still lurks in the museums we dare to visit. Share your thoughts below. Would you dare to turn the key yourself? Smash that like button, subscribe for more ghostly tales, and remember, sometimes the silence is whispering your name.